morning. Today is Thursday, November 14th, and today what I want to talk about was the loss of the midnight launch. Now, today's kind of exciting, right? Tonight at midnight, Pokemon Sword and Shield are going to be coming out, and they're doing an early release at 9 o'clock for Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Sorry, I can't speak this morning. And I'm pretty pumped about it. Like, I love going to midnight launches, and the thing is, I've gone to dozens upon dozens, maybe even, probably not 100, that would be a lot, but definitely dozens of midnight launches over the years for things like games, for systems, for movies. To a lesser extent, normally I get more excited about games. But today what I kind of want to talk about was just the concept of the midnight launch. Some of my favorite ones in particular, why it's sadly kind of going away, and I think that's, we're going to see less and less of them as time goes on. And then I was curious about what were some of your best midnight launch experiences. Dad, hello, I would love to hear some of your best midnight experiences. I can't remember if you and I ever went to one together or not, for a game anyways. We might have, once or twice if you were up here. But yeah, so midnight launches for me are absolutely fantastic, and the most chaotic one that I can remember is probably the first one that I went to, and that was the midnight launch for Halo 2. Now, Halo itself was, just an incredible game, and obviously people went nuts about that and started creating like console LAN parties, just so they could appreciate the multiplayer in Halo, which was phenomenal. But then Halo 2 obviously took it to a whole nother level with Xbox Live, and a lot of people were super excited for it. And I'll never forget, at the time I worked at a mall here in Columbus, and for some reason this mall in particular had two GameStops in it. It had a GameStop on the second floor, and then literally right underneath it in the exact same space was another GameStop. Now I think it's because the one on the bottom used to be an EBX, which I think was an offshoot of Electronics Boutique, which if you go way back, you remember Electronics Boutique was originally Electronics Boutique, and then you had EB Games, and then EBX, which I think was an offshoot, and then eventually they were acquired by GameStop, and then eventually all those stores got converted into GameStops. So, at the time though, there were two of them, and I'll never forget, that going to the midnight launch at that particular one, I went to the GameStop upstairs, but there were lines at both locations, just hundreds of people long, that were like winding through the mall and actually out the door of the mall. Like, it was completely insane. Or like right there where you would have made your entrance. And the thing that I loved about it was it was complete unmitigated chaos. Like, I remember they had like mall security guards, who had to work an extra shift just to make sure that, nothing crazy happened during the midnight launch, all these nutty gamers running around and everything. Tribal, good morning. And, so it was really kind of a cool thing to see, like, all these people who were super pumped about it. Like, there were people that were cosplaying there, and there were people who were, like, like playing, like, the Halo theme song, like, on speakers and line and everything. Like, it was completely nuts, and it was super awesome, right? It was just very cool. And the reason that I love midnight launches, period, and most of that was kind of concentrated into that particular midnight launch, is that it's just the raw, unbridled passion and energy of all these people that are there, right? And there's no question in your mind why these people are hanging out at that particular store at midnight. Like, maybe you went to a midnight launch and it wasn't even at a like a GameStop, or a place you would, typically consider like a haven for gamers, or maybe it was just like in a department store or something like that. But nonetheless, even if you're at like a Best Buy or a Walmart at midnight, and there's a ton of people there, and it's not true like a launch party, because, Walmart employees don't normally get amped up about that kind of stuff, like, you still know, like, nobody's there because they're like, ooh, I heard Lady and the Tramp 2 is coming out at midnight tonight. No, like, everyone's there exactly for the game that you are excited for. So you really, it's a very easy thing to kind of connect with strangers who are super into, whatever game that you're excited about. And that's, I think, probably my favorite part about midnight. It's not necessarily, that you get the game early, although that's certainly nice, but it's just kind of cool to be surrounded by people in real life that are as, completely amped up for this new release as you are. And that's one of the reasons I'm excited for tonight, because there actually is a true midnight launch tonight of sorts. Now, Jedi Fallen Order comes out tonight early. It's getting early release. Right now, if you want to keep track of these, you can actually go on Best Buy's website, and they have a special section just for like midnight launch events, or, early release events, which an early release event isn't even really an event. Really what it is it's just like, they'll sell the game like right before the store closes, the day before the official launch date of a game. So if the store is closing at 9 o'clock, then you'll see, people can trickle in like around like 8:50, 8:45 and start paying for the game and get it early. But that doesn't really quite have the same energy as a true midnight launch, because that's just people grabbing it early. They're not really concentrated in any way, and I understand why retailers do it, right? It's just not cost effective to keep the store open an extra 3 hours when most people aren't going to be there shopping for anything else, and to keep everything staffed up is probably kind of a loss for them. Like, the loss they have to spend in like probably keeping people on the floor probably almost offsets the extra sales they would get from offering it early. Beck, good morning. Neo, hello. Red, what's up? I remember the last time I went to a launch in America, there were only 2 people at Best Buy. Right, and it didn't used to be that way. And that's kind of what I'm getting at right now. So you've got early release, right? Where they just kind of, drip feed the game early to anybody who's, nuts enough about the game to kind of make an effort to go out the day before to pick it up. And that's fine. Like, that can be cool. You can run into some cool people there. But what I miss, or the things that I love, are like these big midnight launch events that are just like, massive, where you would have like, 100 people or more that are excited for a particular game. And it doesn't really happen that much anymore. And the reason it doesn't happen much, I think it can really be attributed to a few different factors. One is the rise of digital, right? There are some gamers who are born today or who have grown up, and they really will never need a physical copy of a game, right? For them, it'll be more normal to just download a title digitally, which kind of sucks. But if you grew up and you were a physical collector, if you're somebody who's kind of in that headspace, then you're always going to want to make the effort to go to a midnight launch in all likelihood. I mean, if you're that excited about that particular game, I mean. But another reason I think they're sort of dying out, aside from that, is that the early release phenomenon, right? A lot of stores realize it's more cost effective to simply let the game sell like 10 minutes before close than it is to keep the store open for an extra 2 or 3 hours, and then let a bunch of people come in to pick it up. Now there are exceptions to this, and the other one, the big one today that people are probably more excited about than Jedi Fallen Order, obviously, is Pokemon Sword and Shield, right? Now for that, both my GameStop and Best Buy are doing a true midnight launch event tonight. Now, I'm on the Game Looters podcast tonight, and that will probably go till close to midnight, so I may have to peace out on that podcast a little bit early to go pick up my copy of Pokemon Shield, which I did go for Shield, not Sword. But yeah, for these particular events, and I think really one of the lone holdouts is Nintendo, because Nintendo, I don't think they've ever done an early release for a game, right? Lots of third-party publishers will do an early release, especially if it's a game like, Red Dead Redemption 2, for example, where you've got not only a massive base game that takes a little bit to install, but then if you have a huge patch on top of that, like you've got a day one patch that's like 20 gigs or something, they usually like to do gamers a solid and let them start downloading that early so they can, actually play it on launch day instead of spending the entirety of launch day just waiting for something to install. So, in a way, I almost feel like, from a physical game perspective, there's almost a stronger argument to be made for an early release, but, that's just, my opinion. So, I think that's one of the reasons they're dying out. One is most things are going to digital. Two, stores don't necessarily want to stay open, later to make that happen. Three is it can be a safety concern, I guess, right? If you've got tons of people that are crowded into one tiny store, and most GameStops are not super huge, it might cause issues. Like, I don't think I've ever heard of like a major problem at a midnight launch, certainly during Black Friday, because here in America, we go nuts for Black Friday, right? That's, to me, probably way more terrifying than any midnight launch that I've ever been to. But, it's just one of those things, like, I'm kind of sad to see them start dying out. I wish that wasn't the case, but, as time goes on, they're probably going to become, less and less frequent. The reason I think Nintendo's the lone holdout is because, again, Nintendo never really does early releases, right? Like, like the Big N is not going to let people get their game 4 hours before midnight the day before launch. They'll do it right at midnight, which is what they're doing tonight. And I think that's cool because the Pokemon fan base, for better or worse, is one of the most rabid probably in gaming. I have gone to a Pokemon midnight launch before. I can't remember which game it was for, though, but it was when I was living in Lewis. It would have been in 2014, so someone can do the math on that. It was whatever Pokemon came out in 2014, that's a midnight launch event that I went to, and it was great, because everyone was there with, like, their 3DSs, and people were just, like, battling in the parking lot, and, like, that GameStop did it up, man. Like, they ordered, like, wings and pizza for everybody, because, usually GameStops, if they are going to do a launch event of that magnitude, they'll usually give, like, at manager discretion, a small amount of dough for doing things like ordering pizza or getting drinks for people and stuff like that, which I always thought was nice. And I wish more places did that, because there really are very few places that I'm aware of, or at least around me, where you really get a lot of real life gamers that congregate in real life, unless it's like a scheduled thing or there's like some sort of a LAN party or like esports or something like that, I guess. But that's one of them for me, is a midnight launch, because you go to a midnight launch and you throw a rock and hit someone who's going to be excited about the same game that you are. The closest I came was actually last week. On Wednesday, I went to the Anamanaguchi concert, and that was great. If you're not familiar with Anamanaguchi, if you grew up on games at all, particularly in the 90s, if you grew up during the 8-bit, 16-bit era, and have a fondness for the kind of audio that you used to get from those types of games, they do music that will absolutely appeal to your interest. And it was cool going to that concert, because you look around, you see like Sega and Super Nintendo and like Street Fighter shirts and stuff like that everywhere, because you kind of know if somebody appreciates that kind of music, there's a good chance they appreciate gaming. So that was like another example. But I mean, aside from midnight launches and that very specific concert scenario for me, I don't really know of a lot that actually, a lot of events that sort of happen that kind of bring gamers together in a significant, unless there's like a video game movie, or I guess like when the Silent Hill movie came out, maybe. or maybe if like a movie like Wreck-It Ralph comes to theaters. But I don't know. I think that's one of the reasons that I just love the midnight launch experience so much. Let me go to the chat. Well, let me back up a little bit. Red says, GameStop became terrible because they used to give you extras. Now they don't do those type of things. So why would I pay full retail price at your store? Amazon and Best Buy will usually give it a... That's true. My Best Buy was doing a $10 bump if you pre-ordered Pokemon at their store. So I did it there, but I get a discount now at GameStop. So I actually did get Jedi Fallen Order there. So I'll go to GameStop tonight at 9 to grab Fallen Order, and then I'll go to Best Buy proper at midnight to get Star Wars Pokemon. Mom says, good morning. Watch while I'm on the elliptical. My coffee is over there on the desk. Well, at least it's nearby, Ma. I don't know if the gamer program is still at Best Buy. They would give you like 20% off. It was, and then they discontinued the program. Mine lasted as long as it possibly could, and then it went away, and then, there was not as much incentive for me to shop exclusively at Best Buy. Neo says, yes, Pokemon. Which Pokemon are you getting, Neo? Beck says, I'll pick up my copy in 9 hours at 9 a.m. And Lola, yeah, I know you're getting Shield. And it's funny because you told me the reason for you getting Shield, and I actually went and looked at the exclusive Pokemon differences between the two, and because you get Ponyta and Shield, apparently, that's the one I went for. I used your litmus test for figuring out which one, because I had pretty much been steadfastly Shield, but, like, Sword looked really cool, too, and finally that's what put me over the edge, was you gave me the extra insight that I hadn't considered. Unfortunately, we are losing physical copies due to them being a cost of the companies that produce the game, so they most likely will go all digital 2 to 3 generations from now. I know, right? I think we're going to go all digital predominantly, and that's the thing, like, if they really do go all in on digital, and that's the only way, and it doesn't even have, like, a disc slot or a way to accept physical media, that's going to suck for retailers like Limited Run, who, they're still doing physical. Now, they may still be able to, for a generation or two, do physical releases for, what at that point will be aging... approaching retro titles, I guess. Or maybe it's that they'll do physical releases where you just get all the goodies, but then you get like a digital code, which not as great, but it's better than nothing, I guess. Because that's kind of what they're doing now. If you've seen like those new game plushes at Best Buy, like they did one recently. They did one for Katamari Damacy, and they did one for Undertale and Hollow Knight. So those were kind of cool. Like at least you got something physical. Although I will say, and as far as plushies go, $50 for a plush. Little bit steep. I mean, I know you're getting the game too, but come on. Sushi says, I will fight those rabid fans. Jeez, Sushi. Now, wait, Sushi, which one are you getting? Enlighten me. This is alien to me. We get nothing like that here. Oh, Neo, you missed out, my friend. Like, midnight launch... Well, I don't know. I mean, what midnight launches have anybody in the chat have you been to before, or did you enjoy? Because, for me, some of my most memorable ones would have been Halo 2, technically, the launch of the original GameCube when I was like 15, 16 years old, I went and stood in line at Walmart with my friend Ashley till like midnight to get that in Luigi's Mansion 3. Other notable midnight launches, I went to a couple when I lived in Louisville, which were fun. Oh, I camped out. Like, literally camped out. I mean, me and my friends, we actually set up a tent outside of Best Buy because, and the thing is, I didn't need to camp out at midnight on a really, really cold, I believe, November night in 2006 to get a Wii. I pre-ordered it, right? So, mine was absolutely guaranteed. But I had a buddy who, unfortunately, did not have the same foresight. He really wanted to get the Nintendo Wii when it came out, and we were like, the only way to get it is if you want to go stand in line at Best Buy, and we're probably going to have to hang out at like 8 or 9 o'clock until midnight to get it, and it's like 12 degrees outside. And he was like, all right, let's do it. So we literally, there was like a big line of people that were waiting for because the Wii launch was crazy. And there's a big line of people, and I'll never forget because we played, what was it? Elite Beat Agents on the DS while we were waiting in like this tent that we set up outside of a Best Buy to get it. It was a lot of fun. It was one of my better gaming memories, I think, for a midnight launch anyways. But yeah, I mean, like, they could get super fun here, at least in the old days, Neo. It's not like it used to be. Red says Limited Run is kind of annoying because they sell out usually. I cannot usually get a copy anyways. Then I'll see a ton of eBay resellers. Yeah, they can, but I think they've offset that at least a little bit because now they do open pre-orders for a lot of their games. Like maybe they'll do limited quantities of the collector's edition for some of their physical releases, but at least they're not doing it as much with the regular releases. So like, I mean, obviously their business model is a tough one to crack because it's like, if you do limited quantity, then that makes it more valuable and more sought after by gamers, but that also makes it a more appealing target for scalpers as well, which kind of rough. I mean, personally see like a huge problem with reselling something if you've got like an extra, but if you're buying them in bulk and taking them away from people who legitimately were there just as fans to get it at launch, I think that kind of sucks. Nia says, I'm the only one, in the one and only one I went to was Dragon Ball Z Xenoverse 1. And was it exciting? Were there a lot of people there for Dragon Ball? Sushi says, I'm getting Sword and my fiance is getting Shield. Why are you making a sad face? You guys got both bases covered. I don't know why you'd be sad about that. I'm also getting Shield, so if you need to trade, and there's one that your fiance doesn't have, let me know, Sushi. Travel says, over where I live, the GameStop is 30 minutes away by biking. I went to Walmart next to it, and a woman there saw me sweating, and she asked where I biked from, and she was shocked I did it for a headset. Yeah, but see, that's dedication right there, and that's something that I can respect, Tribal. Didn't you and I do one Destiny midnight launch? I think we did, but I can't. It had to be Destiny 2, because when the first Destiny came out, I would have been in Louisville, I think. I think that's where I was living at the time, so it must have been Destiny 2. I'll have to go back and look through my pictures to see if we went there together. And he says, Sushi people don't have to get Shield just because you're getting it. I mean, Sword. Yes, there were so many, and just talk about DBZ till we could get it. It was amazing. Yeah, and that's the thing that I really like about it is like, some of the other great ones that I went to was back when me and Dad actually used to play World of Warcraft pretty heavily, and when they would do World of Warcraft expansions, that was a whole lot of fun because man, like WoW fans were like super into it, right? And that was just like such a densely packed community that was really, really into the game. And they would come out in droves, especially when they did the collector's editions versions of the expansions when they came out for like Wrath of the Lich King, for example. And those were a lot of fun to go to. I went to 2 or 3 of those. And, I think Warcraft fans were probably not quite as crazy as Pokemon fans. Pokemon fans are probably the best or worst, depending on your perspective. But yeah, like console launches are always fun. Ooh, that's another console launch that was a lot of fun, was when the Wii U came out. I went with Muzz and Sleazy, a couple of buddies of mine, and we went down to, Muzz is from Level 1 Games here on YouTube. We went to a Target and camped out to get the Wii U, which that was not quite as fulfilling as the original Wii in retrospect. Like, we camped out for it, but there was literally no need to, because the line, like people showed up for it, but not nearly like the line that there was for the Nintendo Wii. So we ended up getting it, pretty much no problem. And I'm pretty sure that was the same day that the PlayStation 4 came out, I want to say, or close to it. Because right after that, we went back to Muzzle's house, and he made pancakes. He's an amazing cook, by the way. And we just kind of hung out and, play. Well, what did we play? I can't remember if those were 2 separate launches or if they were the same day. All I remember was, like, early morning on 2 occasions I hung out with Muzz, and I know at least one of them for the PS4 launch. We went back to his place and checked out some games, including, I think, briefly Knack, which I don't remember being super great. So that's fun. Shaboinky Boy, good morning. Fabian, what's up, man? Finally got up early enough to jump in. No worries. We were just talking about midnight launches. Are there any particular favorites that you went to, Fabian? I would love to hear about it. It's just that, what if I wanted Shield? Rapidness intensifies. I mean, you could always get the double pack. You could always have both, right? That's a possibility. Will you be getting a launch version of Google Stadia? Absolutely, Red. That's already pre-ordered. It will be here. And, Jim Sterling did like a great rant yesterday about how the launch lineup for Stadia is basically garbage, and it really does look to be that way. But what was it? There's a game that's coming to it that's an exclusive though that I saw that I didn't know about, called Gylt, Gylt, and it actually looks pretty good. It's like it almost looks like what was that animated like claymation? It was like a kids movie, but it was also kind of horrific. I'm not talking about like The Nightmare Before Christmas, but it had that kind of vibe. Coraline. It almost looks very Coraline-ish in terms of its like graphical presentation. It looks like a horror game, so that's interesting to me. But like Jim said in that video, he thinks that, they're in a weird spot marketing that system, right? On the one hand, they want gamers to be casual enough that they don't necessarily want to invest in a full console, which, as we all know, can be $400 to $500. A lot of us are going to be spending a lot of dough next year when the PS5 and or Project Scarlet drops, probably around the same time. So they have to be casual enough that they're not worried, they don't want to invest, that much, but not so casual that they're completely satisfied with just playing games on their phones or whatever. So, it's kind of a weird thing because, I feel like it's going to land without much of a splash. But then you've got, as he pointed out, also people like myself who are getting it purely based on novelty, right? Almost pure curiosity drove that purchasing decision for me. Like, because that's the thing. Like long term, I don't know how viable Stadia is going to be. Right now, it's hard to say. All I know is that Google's got a lot of capital, right? They could throw a lot of dough at something to make it successful if they want to. So long term, it may gain a foothold. I'm not sure. But for me, just curiosity, and I feel like it's something I could make content out of. And I think I get like 3 months of the Stadia Premium or whatever it is for free. So yes, I am getting it because I'm really curious. Because and that's the thing. Like even if you're disappointed with the selection of games it has, right? And even if you're not particularly thrilled at the idea of streaming games, it's technologically kind of a wonder that they're able to do this, right? For me, just raw curiosity to see if it's possible is something that is inherently very interesting for me to kind of make a video about and check out for myself. Because just because that technology, just because you may not be hot on Stadia, doesn't mean that some of the technology that fuels Stadia might not become a standard in other platforms moving forward. Particularly what I'm referring to is not just the fact that, yes, you can stream games from the same source. You can stream gameplay out to viewers from the same source that you are getting the data streamed to you as the player, but then also the weird feature set that they have integrated with this platform that could really only be done on Stadia. Things like save states that you could share through a hyperlink, right? That's kind of bonkers to me. Or the fact that somebody could instantly just jump into a game without a lot of like fuss to join a multiplayer and then queue up, almost like arcade machine style in a weird way, but taken to like a digital form, I guess. So I think that's really interesting. But yeah, long story short, definitely getting it because I'm curious. Fabian says, I used to run Midnight Launch when I worked at Best Buy. I love them. See? Like, what did you love most of them? Just out of curiosity. PS3 was my favorite. Camped out for 3 days. My manager brought his hot dog grill, and we all had a cookout at 3 a.m. nightly. That's killer. That is super odd. Now, I've never camped out for 3 days, so my hat's off to you, Fabian. Red says, I saw his rant. You should feel guilty for buying Stadia. Oh, I don't feel guilty at all. The game doesn't look bad, though. Oh, guilt? Yeah, guilt doesn't look bad. Fabian says, bought and returned electric sockets for car batteries, ran some TVs, and played Call of Duty 2 outside nightly till launch, powered by cars. That's nuts. I mean, but it sounds like you did it right, though. That's way cooler than hanging out in a tent and playing a DS. That's what I did for the Wii launch. As it says, oh wait, I heard that you can have multiple saves in new Pokemon game. In case you're not rabid, you could only have one save file in Pokemon. I'm not sure. I don't know if I heard that or not. One of the things I have heard about Pokemon, like I'm excited for it at a surface level, because it's like a console Pokemon, which is something apparently people have wanted for a long time. But one of the things that is interesting to me is, a lot of places are giving it crazy good reviews. Like IGN gave like a 9.3, right? But then they gave Death Stranding like a 6, which I think that's completely absurd. But anyways, another, like Game Explain though, only gave it, like he said he liked it, but he didn't love it. He wasn't like completely crazy about it. And I thought it was interesting because the reviewer at Game Explain basically said that, for him, Pokemon isn't so much about the competitive, the competitive arena, right? It's not so much for him about the battling or the multiplayer. For him, it's about a single player story. And he said that the single player story was not super great compared to past entries, or there wasn't the same sort of gravitas into like the drama and the characters that are in this game. For me, I tend to be more of a single player experience kind of guy. It's not that there aren't multiplayer games I love, there absolutely are, but by and large, usually I'll go for a single player experience first, right? I like to get completely immersed in a game and get lost in its characters and its story and its lore. I don't know if maybe Pokemon's not the right venue for that, but as long as the single player experience is at least somewhat fulfilling and I enjoy the game. One thing it's dumb, like this is probably like a very small thing, but it was something I didn't know Pokemon Sword and Shield was going to do, and it got me really pumped, is apparently it does have real-time like weather effects, and I love games with weather effects. I love the idea that I could be just like traipsing through an open field or something, hunting for Pokemon, and then like a thunderstorm could just show up. It's dumb, but I love it. I like when it can rain in games. Judge, good morning. Shaboinky Boink says, Netflix of games already exists, which, wait, what are you referring to? Think about eventually turn into Netflix gaming next year if they are smart. It could be. It could be. For quality streaming, Neo, I heard about this during Myco's stream, not sure about their sources. Travis says, if you want to know why I love tech, read chat. It's not dedication, it's an addiction to wanting to see new tech because I grew up poor, so I could really afford stuff whenever I see new tech. I want to see how it works and take it apart. Fair enough. I can understand that obsession. Shenmue 3 is already on sale on Black Friday for $35. Yeah, and that's like, usually when games come out around this time frame, it almost does make more sense to wait a little bit. I'm just I'm just incredibly impatient. But there are certain titles that I have listed out separately that maybe I'm looking into on Black Friday. Games like Daemon X Machina, for example. I wouldn't buy that at full price at launch, but for Black Friday, for the right price, I could be tempted. Famous says, I don't think Stadia is going to make it long term, but saying the technology isn't impressive is a downright lie. Right, and that's kind of where I'm at. Like when people are like, did you pre-order Stadia? And I'm like, yeah, I pre-ordered Stadia. My position isn't like, yeah, switch it to Stadia. Like, I'm a physical collector, right? I have very little interest in streaming games, but at a technical level, curiosity is there for me. And if they do have true exclusives on Stadia that are good, I have no problem, paying for or playing those experiences. If that's the only place I can get it, right? Now, if you told me, like, okay, so from now on, every third-party release you're going to get it on Stadia, no way. Like, there's no way unless I had no other options, that would never happen. So, Dragon Gamer, good morning. Interesting. My GameStop is having a midnight for Pokemon tonight. Yeah, my GameStops do it, but they're closing until I think they're going to close right around 11 and then reopen at midnight, which kind of bugs. I wish they would just stay open the whole way through, but, since I'm technically an employee, I can just hang out there from 11 to midnight if I want to, which I thought was nice. T-Belly, what's up, man? Love the midnight launches. What was your favorite midnight launch? Just out of curiosity, sir. Judge, if you have any midnight launch stories, I'd love to hear them. My manager at Best Buy basically said, you run the midnight launches, tell me what you need. The ideas were fun. That's cool, though. Like, it's awesome that he gave you the flexibility to kind of make it a good experience for everybody. I wish more stores had that mentality. I wish people would stop saying that we've had enough console Pokemon games before. Yeah, but we never had a true Pokemon console game before, right? We had games like Snap and Stadium. Sony is stupid, though. You cannot get PlayStation Now in South Korea. When I checked my internet yesterday, I had over 500 megs download speed. Korea has one of the fastest internet speeds in the whole world. Yeah, that does seem like a weird omission. Yeah, I don't know why they would not allow PS Now over there. Although, personally, I have no interest in PS Now. Stadia will work out as long as they keep it running for the next 5 to 10 years. It will eventually be successful as technology and internet speeds becomes more and more accessible. I think one thing, though, that I think works against Stadia Shipwinky Boink is the proliferation of another digital marketplace for purchasing games. Like, for a long time, it was just Steam, and Steam, as of yet, has not been dethroned, and I don't know that they ever will be. But now you've got, like, I mean, wasn't there like an EA store, and then there's like the Unreal store, and as more of these come out, it's like, I almost feel like it's exhausting for the consumer, especially because you don't want to get locked into, getting locked into an ecosystem just for your apps is annoying enough, right? If you were an iPhone user, or if you're an Android user, and then like 2 years into that platform, you decide you want to switch to the opposite, it can be really annoying and difficult. And the same can be said of games, but it might also work out in favor of consumers, because generally when you've got competition that forces the price down, or it forces at least the people who are producing games for those platforms to be more innovative. So hopefully it doesn't become just like an absolute nightmare, but hey, best case scenario, maybe we get better deals on games. What are all these complaints going on about around Pokemon? Someone more well-versed in Pokemon would have to speak. I know there was some discourse over the national dex. It ticks me off. No stop if you're wrong there. If you have multiple console Pokemon games, I got emails from Xbox saying that they were looking to test Xbox's cloud gaming service in Korea first. Well, that I don't doubt. I mean, if they have such a strong internet connection, plus it probably puts them pretty far away from the server infrastructure. It's probably a good test of its limits over multiple hops. As long as the story is equal to Red Blue, I won't be overly disappointed regarding Shield. Fair enough. It's not a thunderstorm, it's clearly Zapdos. Right? Josh, I've restarted... What? Let me go back. I missed it. I've restarted Death Stranding, enjoying more this time. So what makes it different this time, just out of curiosity? Because I'm like 40 hours into Death Stranding, and I'm only on Chapter 3, and apparently there are double-digit chapters. I won't spoil how many, but if you're in Chapter 2 or 3 and you're like, oh, is there more to the game? Yes, there is much more. I am completely obsessed with Death Stranding. It's probably going to be my game of the year. Barely has any internet providers. They throttle speeds. That's why the internet is slow. Over here in Korea, there are so many more competitors. More competitors equal faster speeds. Right. Another example of competition, making things better for the consumer. With Stadia, I think it'll eventually go away, but you can bet Sony and Microsoft are going to adopt some of its features. Oh yeah, and Microsoft in particular has the infrastructure to back some of those features, assuming they can implement it well. And the thing is, again, people forget, Microsoft has a massive and rich history in enterprise computing, right? And they've spent decades building up, that clout and the infrastructure that they have. Ritz says Sony and Microsoft might be collaborating to take on Google. Might not be the worst idea, because Google's a gorilla, man. I mean, like they could really do some damage if they put the full weight of Google behind it. T-Boy says mine was the NES Classic. It got me back into gaming. That's awesome. So were there a lot of people that came out for that launch then, T-Belly? Yes, we've had about 5 or 6. Not mainline entries though. Rhinelight, hello. How are you today? I don't think people realize what Stadia really is. They think about how dangerous that would be. They completely redo YouTube gaming, like if viewers could literally couch co-op with the stream. Right, I think it has a lot of cool features. There was the Gale Pokemon game, says Neo. Ritz says, I saw that Microsoft was providing Sony with their techs and vice versa. I figured Microsoft would be more buddy-buddy with Nintendo than Sony, but who knows. There still is no true Pokemon console game. Switch isn't really a console. Yeah, I mean, it's a hybrid, right? So, it's not technically a pure console experience. And then I did see some controversy that apparently they took the assets from a 3DS game and used it for this, which I guess some people were upset after a data mine. I'm not sure if that's true, but Ryan says the backbone of Stadia is YouTube lining up a Trojan horse to completely destroy Twitch, and I'm way more of a Twitch fan for live stream content. Personally, I never really got into Twitch. I respect Twitch, and obviously, I mean, like they've become the standard for streaming, I think, and everyone's trying to play catch up with them. But I do think you're right. I do think it's a Trojan horse time, because ultimately the end game for Google and YouTube is not necessarily like, yeah, you know what, we just want to start really making games because we have a real passion for it. I think that what they're trying to do is protect revenue, right? If you have eyes on YouTube all the time, then, you can get those advertiser dollars. If everybody decides, you know what, the best place to get gaming content is Twitch, which Amazon owns, then they stand to lose a large chunk of money over time. So I think right now they're trying to get ahead of that. And Twitch is, and that's interesting, because that means Twitch is kind of fighting a battle on 2 fronts, right? If Stadia is even moderately successful, then that's going to chip away at Twitch's bottom line. But then on top of that, the fact that Microsoft's just throwing big old, bags of money at some of the top Twitch streamers to pull them over to Mixer, interesting times for the future of streaming. It's a battleground. But the way Google is with YouTube, do I then trust them with my games? Nope, no thank you. I mean, and that's the thing, right? You don't have ownership on your side of the equation, right? It's only streaming. So it's not like if the servers go dark, you still have a digital copy on some device somewhere you can play. It's just, you're just done. And that kind of sucks. Stadia's biggest competition is if Stream gets more into the streaming platform. Steam has more experience and is also known as a safe haven for developers, meaning people may lean towards Steam more. That's true, it's possible. Lily says, really sorry I'm super late. Lily, don't worry about it. There is no late. You show up whenever you want, watch it after the fact, or don't watch it at all. It's okay. People get busy. Fabi says, I think most Pokemons are the same thing. You either hate it or you don't. And that's the thing. Like, for me, I'm hoping, like, I enjoyed the time that I spent with Pokemon Let's Go. And for me, the Pokemon Go, then Pokemon Let's Go, and now Pokemon Sword and Shield. For me, it's an on-ramp to get back into Pokemon. I played it on the original Red and Blue, and then I think I dabbled with 1 or 2 after that, but mainly it's like the series got so big and so complex, and I just didn't really have the mental energy to devote to like keeping up with like every new Pokemon and every new battle mechanic and every change to, how the mechanics of the game were put forth. That, eventually I was just kind of like, meh, that's just too much to process, and I just, moved on to other games. But I'm hopeful this one's going to turn me around a little bit. Hey, Lily, true, Steam is testing streaming as well now. Sadly, that's the future of gaming. It absolutely is. And it may not necessarily be a dark future. I mean, I think it's going to be dark for physical collectors, but, you'll still have thousands upon thousands of retro titles to collect, so there's that, I guess. Maybe a silver lining? I don't know. Maybe not. Taking my time has allowed me to notice and enjoy some features and details, like that my route becomes a path as I retread it. I unlocked the wind power plant, and now doing the side quests. I hate the wind farm so much. That foresty area where there's BTs everywhere, I hate the wind farm. 250 people for an ES class, that's crazy. I don't think I've seen one where there's 250. Mechanical Dragon, hello, how are you doing this morning? Nintendo and Xbox work together well so far. I see more in the future. I hope so. I want to see Game Pass just straight up come as a streaming feature to the Switch. That would be amazing. I don't know if they could do it, but that would be really cool. Well, if they put xCloud on there. And I bet if they do xCloud, I would almost bet that what they'll do is they'll do something like right now we have Game Pass Ultimate, right? So it's $14.99, and that includes your Xbox Live subscription. But I wouldn't be surprised if they tacked xCloud onto that for an extra $5 upsell, maybe. I don't know. I'll be curious to see how they do xCloud, what their business strategy is for them. Stop and Pokemon have had console games before. Yeah, but not a real Pokemon, right? Like spin-offs. Josh, what are your thoughts on all these channel scammer hacks? I actually was going to do a stream about that and kind of talk about like some best security practices. It sucks. And there are so many different ways that you can be attacked online. And, long story short, there isn't a lock on this planet that can't be opened with something other than its key. Nothing is ever going to be 100% secure. I think the running joke in IT for a long time was the only secure server is one that is completely unplugged, and buried in concrete 10 feet deep. And even then, it would be questionable, I think. But my thoughts are that it sucks, right? It sucks that, like, Fabian here in the chat had to go through it. It sucks that Urch is going through it now. And I mean, this is probably part of, like, some sort of a coordinated effort, I would imagine, right? I mean, it seems like there's some suspicious similarities between the behavior we saw on Fabian's channel and then also that we're seeing now on Urcha's channel. If you're a subscriber to Urcha, like, I woke up this morning and I had like 10 notifications from her where she was premiering, like, some weird TV show, and obviously not Urcha's content. Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2 was some of the best Pokemon. I never played it. Heard VidMe was good, but they closed. I never used it. Frozen Gamer, what's up, man? How you doing? Stop breaking my childhood. Twitch has always been my jam for streaming. YouTube has been weird with their policies for the last few years. YouTube, well, and that's the thing. YouTube kind of has to be weird with their policies because they're always under such scrutiny, right? Because as the largest video delivery platform on the web, I mean, they're going to be under a microscope in a way that, smaller players just aren't going to be. Like, it's a real, like, squeaky wheel gets the grease kind of situation, I think. People are hating Pokemon. I did see a lot of Pokemon hate. I think weren't they like thumbs down bombing or whatever in like some of the more recent trailers. PS4 has had share play for many years. That's true. Internet is awful in this part where I'm driving right now. Don't text and drive, Lily. Oh wait, you're a passenger. That's right. Never mind. You can have your friends play couch co-op games since 2013. So what Stream is trying to do isn't new, but it's nice to see that Sony started to come to PC. Face says, completely cutting off ownership is what keeps me away from Stadia. At least if it were downloaded on a hard drive, you would still have it. It's just something that turns me off right away, right? And, if your internet's down, then you can't play games. I mean, maybe that's a few and like a not common scenario for most people to experience day to day, but still, it's something to consider. Google can work at a loss indefinitely with Stadia if need be. YouTube only became slightly profitable. Well, that's the thing. Stadia itself doesn't need to be profitable. If Stadia drives traffic to YouTube, which increases ad revenue, then it's a win for them. They can, you're right. They can sell Stadia at a loss in perpetuity, and it doesn't matter because that shortfall is made up for by the viewers who are watching, the content creators that are willing to indulge in. I think it should be a subscription service too. I think that would be smarter. I don't want to buy games there. I'm going to buy a game that eventually won't be accepted. But then again, we're talking about Google here. I say that web platforms rise and fall every day, but Google's got the capital and experience and longevity that they will probably be around for a very long time. Like, if you asked me to place bets on companies that were going to fold in the next 10 years, Google would probably not be among them. Probably even the next 20 or 30 years. But I've been wrong before. Where am I at? Let's see. It's still a fun game. That it should be a subscription service, not a pay-to-buy game service. I agree. There are already lawsuits dealing with digital ownership and allowing you to resell digitally owned games. That's interesting. I would like to know more about that. $10 to $20 a month for unlimited access to game streaming like Netflix would be great. If Xbox Game Pass had more games, it'd be good. You can get it on PC, but you can't. There are no longer BTs in that forest for me. Just 2 bridges. My life goal is to try an Evel Knievel the whole forest in one bike jump now. Now that's impressive. The forest is not, well, it's not huge, but it's dense. My thoughts are that these scammers must be destroyed. I mean, but that's the thing, like, it's a losing battle. I'm not advocating for apathy, right? I'm not saying that you shouldn't exercise, best principles or best practices, or, that you shouldn't do all you can to bring them to justice, but, it's a story as old as time, right? Whenever there's somebody out there who's, doing something interesting, there's going to be someone out there who tries to take advantage of it and exploit it for their own gain through shortcuts. Found the same scammer in my spam folder, Johnny Fox or something? Yeah, I'm sure I've got 1 or 2 as well. Xbox Game Pass launches some more games. If you want more games, no more launch titles, basically, or a massive price hike. Right. Josh, what were your thoughts regarding Disney Plus's launch? I was surprised how cheap it was. I wish I'd done the Verizon thing where I could have gotten a free year. I'll have to go back and see if I can still get that. But you know, it's so far I think it's great. Not only was I excited to go there for the Marvel and for the Mandalorian, but then I also kind of rediscovered some things. Like I didn't know Gargoyles was going to be on there. I didn't know, you know, the Spider-Man animated series was going to be on there. So I've been throwing that on the background while I work. I think it's tremendous. And $6.99 a month, that's not bad, but that's a thin edge of the wedge situation, right? They are starting at $6.99. Mark my words, 18 months from now, it's not going to be $6.99. It's they're going to be like, we've added some new features or brought something new into the fold, and now it's $9.99. It's going to be the same thing as Netflix. You remember when Netflix streaming was like $7.99 a month, and now I think I'm paying like 14 or 16 bucks a month? Like, it's gonna go up. I've been talking to her about getting her channel back. She's got over 10 years of content and personal memories stored on the channel. It's pretty heartbreaking. That sucks. Because I mean, that's kind of where I am with this channel. Like, I still have a ton of unpublished stuff from years ago that, like, I probably still have local backups somewhere, but I mean, it's invasive. It sucks to think about. She'll get it back though. She's going about it the right way. That's good to hear. I hope she gets it back, but I know they deleted some of her videos from this month. How can she get those back? Will YouTube help, or will she have to re-upload them? That's a great question. Fabian can speak to it more intelligently than I can because he's been through this process. I have not as of yet. Knowing the way infrastructure works, I would assume, or enterprise infrastructure, I guess, that there would be backups. Whether or not they're willing to restore them for Urcha, I don't know. Because I don't know, like, if you do that... Well, no, I mean, because the servers should have redundancy, right? In a cloud situation, like, I would think so. Whether or not they'll do it, I don't know. Google operates in the red willingly at times to collect data for years. Data is priceless to a technology company. I know, right? Have internet again? Welcome back, Lily. The problem with digital games is that when the servers go down, you'll lose everything. It's like games like Destiny. If they shut down the servers, you won't be getting a refund. Right. Like, Destiny discs will be paperweights someday. Or coasters, I should say. Paperweights? That's a weird thing to say. Happened with the Wii. I hope that PS3 owners can still download their games. I don't want it to shut down. You can still get the free year. My friend called Verizon. They gave him a username and password to log in for his Verizon account. So even if I've already created a Disney Plus account, I should still be able to get the free year. Is that what you're saying, Fabian? I heard the Disney censored a Star Wars scene in the originals. I don't know. I don't know about that. I want it, but I think I need a VPN. Disney won't have to raise prices as much as you think, Josh. They don't have to pay for their content like Netflix did. That's a good point. They do own this content. So, yeah, maybe they can keep it low and approachable. But I feel like if there's a down year and they're looking for ways to, you know, to make up for a shortfall in a particular quarter, that would not be an option that's off the table for them. YouTube can restore your deleted content. It's all snapshot on the server. Okay. They restored Boogie's channel and everything had been deleted. Okay. That's good to know. Encouraging. I mean, I hope I never have to deal with it, but still... That's good information to have. You should still be able to get the free year. I call them. I will give them a call and see if I can, Fabian. No, not recently. This was a while back. Dragon Gamer says, "How are you doing today?" I'm doing quite well. I'm fairly caffeinated. I think work's gonna be all right today. And then Pokemon, and you know what? Let's stop talking about Pokemon for a second. Is anyone else excited for Jedi Fallen Order? Because I'm super pumped for it. And here's the thing. I'm not a Star Wars fanatic, right? My level of excitement for Star Wars as a franchise is nowhere near probably like what Fabian says or you know, some other fans of the series. But I love The Force Unleashed a lot, specifically because it was just an awesome, self-contained, single-player story. And again, I don't have a lot of faith in EA, specifically not with the way they've handled the Star Wars property so far. But what I do have faith in is Respawn Entertainment. You know, those guys did Titanfall 2. I can't wait to see what they're going to do with Fallen Order. Like, I'm very much excited for it. I'm waking up at the crack of dawn to play Fallout. Yeah, so I'm gonna go get mine tonight at 9, and I'm gonna start installing. I gotta get there, and I'm gonna get back to the house quick because I will be doing the loot cast tonight over on the Game Looters channel. Speaking of which, if anybody wants to hang out and check them out, the looters are amazing. You should check out their channel. I thought I had a link here. Well, I can just type in the chat, I guess. But these guys are wonderful. Check them out. But yeah, so for me, the fact, and that's the thing. Like, there was some video I was watching the other night, and I can't remember what channel it was, but they put forth a really cool argument, basically saying that EA is kind of backed into a corner, like they can't afford to botch a third Star Wars game in a row, because essentially what they've done is they've sort of boiled down a lot of their video game experiences to like, everything's got to have a multiplayer component. Everything's got to be like lit up with like microtransactions and loot boxes and things like that. But not this game. This game, there's some pre-order bonus. Oh, speaking of which, are you getting the deluxe edition or the regular edition, Fabian? For me, it's enticing that much like God of War was just a complete awesome game, all self-contained, the same way that The Outer Worlds is an awesome single-player experience, all self-contained, without a lot of fluff or frill or upsells. That's what this game looks like to me, and I hope it stays that way, and I hope it's a really, really good title. I watched some of the preview videos on this game, and people are like, it's got elements of Zelda, it's got elements of God of War in it. It's like that. It's like God of War in a way, the way they explained it, which I think is interesting, because there really is this sort of middle ground between open world and linear, where it's almost like open world, diet open world, or linear plus, where it's like, yes, technically everything's linear and there's a finite number of things you can sort of find and do, which I guess is true of any game, but what I mean is the way it's structured, and in terms of how you move through the environment. There are branching paths, there are secrets you can uncover, there are side quests you can take on that may uncover a large part of the map you never would have seen before if you didn't decide to kind of go down that path. And that's exciting. I think it's something a little bit, that has a higher value proposition for me than just a straight up linear title. The game is described as being Force Awakens plus Zelda plus Mass Effect. Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a great combo. I'm okay with that. I'm not excited for any EA games. Yeah, EA games I'm not overly excited for. Respawn, though. Excited. EA Star Wars equals meh excitement. So have you done any research into it, Judge? Because I'm going to stream it at least a little bit. And I think it may surprise you. If you've done no research and you just saw like EA plus Star Wars, like, nah, no thanks, you might be in for something great. Review embargo ends at launch, so I trust nothing about what people say yet. Yeah, that doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. It doesn't. The reason Respawn is good is they are ex-Infinity Ward developers. They worked on the Modern Warfare series, so they have the experience. EA cannot risk them going under fire. Right. Maybe Angry Joe will do a review for it. How long is Outer Worlds? Outer Worlds, I believe, is, 30 to 40 hours? The game looters will be able to speak to that better. My dad will be able to speak to that better. He is rapidly approaching the end of the game. EA is just the publisher. Respawn developed the game, and EA was nowhere near as involved. Like Battlefront, it's in good hands. See, that's where I'm at, Fabian. Found Outer Worlds underwhelming, honestly. What did you find underwhelming about it? Like, I've enjoyed it. I like that it's not nearly as buggy as what we would have gotten from a Fallout experience. Plus, you gotta remember, those are the same cats that worked on Fallout New Vegas, which was a fan favorite. Tell my high school internet and cell reception to stop making things hard on me. I just noticed the title, what's that about? Midnight launches, Lily, are historically a time when a bunch of gamers would come together and they would release a game on its release date, but at midnight the night before. So it was like you were the first one there to get it, right? So if there was a game that was coming out that you were super pumped for, like for me, one of them would have been Arkham Asylum, maybe? I think that was one I went to. But anyways, game comes out, a bunch of people get together, and they go to a store, and they usually have a special procedure for selling the game at midnight to, like, dozens or sometimes hundreds of fans that are anxiously awaiting the release of a particular title. And it's a really good time. That's what it's all about, but sadly, they're kind of going the way of the dodo, right? They're not going to be around forever based on the proliferation of digital distribution for games, and also that retailers just, I think a lot of times just don't want the headache of dealing with a bunch of maniacs at midnight. EA plus Star Wars equals microtransactions. I don't know how much in this case, but yeah, prior to this, yes. I don't know how much they're going to do that for this one, though. I know you were sick, but you get any more Witcher under your belt? Any good stories? Nope, no good stories. I'm holding off till Sunday story time. We'll return on Sunday. I think we'll be good. And I've been obsessed with Death Stranding. That's the only thing I've been playing, Judge. I absolutely adore the game. I disagree with Angry Joe like 80% of the time. I love Angry Joe. I'm not always a fan of his movie reviews, though. Dad says, finished Outer Worlds last night. Easy level. Shaboinky Boink says, too dialogue heavy. Well, yeah, if you don't like a lot of dialogue in your games, you're going to hate a game like Outer Worlds. Dad says, very satisfying. It really is Fallout Vegas in a tuxedo. That was well put, Dad. Well put. Also, I'm wondering, Dad, are you going to be doing a video on your YouTube channel talking about your experience with it? Am I guilt tripping you slightly? A little bit. EA didn't put heavy microtransactions and Need for Speed Heat. Maybe they're learning because, yeah, I'm sure gradually, like, because if your brand becomes so associated with microtransactions that people are just completely turned off, that's not good because that means every future release that you go through is probably going to be just this uphill battle to get people to buy, and no publisher wants to be in that position. I plan to take at least one more run at hard setting. My first run was what I call Bumble Spaz mode. Is that because you were just like randomly like firing on people? Because I think that's what you told me, right? Did you turn an entire faction against you like within the first 5 hours of the game? Yes, Hamfist is my father. And there it is. This game is confirmed to have microtransactions as of now. Oh, zero transactions. It's a single-player experience. Microtransactions won't take much sense. It wouldn't make much sense, but I imagine maybe some DLC skins might pop up. Not a big deal. Yeah, I was thinking about... I wanted the deluxe, but they wouldn't let me pre-order it anymore at GameStop. Maybe I'll go ahead and get it at Best Buy. But I like the idea mainly because I had like some behind-the-scenes documentary type content, which I thought would be neat to watch. I love stuff like that. Josh Gill tribute, just a little bit. You know, dude could make some great content. He's been editing for like 20 or 30 years, right? Like, I like to edit, but he's top shelf. I think Storytime Sundays, you should do multiple games, not more than 2 or 3, but if you don't, you're going to be playing The Witcher for years. That's okay. We can play The Witcher for years. That's okay. But we'll finish it together. It's going to be a long, drawn-out journey, and then as a community, we'll figure out what the next game is to enjoy together. I think that would be fun. Do you think that we'll get a good Sonic game in 2020? I hope so. Sonic Mania was good. Hopefully they would want to capitalize on the movie. Dan says, if it moves, I shoot. I apologize later. Well played. We'll go great with the movie. I researched this game to hell and have talked to people in the development team. When I say I'm excited, I mean it. I believe you, and that inspires more confidence for myself. But, much as I would love to continue to ramble on about Star Wars and midnight lunches and all that, I have to go to work. But thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your morning. As always, I always appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow morning with a new video to talk, well, new topic to talk about, I guess. And then later tonight, I will be on the Game Looters podcast, which is excellent, and I will be picking up Pokemon Shield and Jedi Fallen Order, so maybe I can do like a first impressions kind of stream sometime next week to kind of talk about that a little bit, if I'm not streaming it directly on the channel, which I'm sure I will sometime this weekend. So anyways, enjoy the rest of your day. I hope it goes quickly, and I hope you guys get your games very, very fast, and yeah, take care. All right, bye.